morning and welcome to our talk show, Good Morning Greyhounds. I'm Sydney Smith, joined by Professor Rick Dunkle. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic as well. Thank you so much for asking. So I know you are a new professor here at the University of Indianapolis. How has that process been for you?
It's been pretty incredible, actually. We are, 11, 12 weeks in?
Yeah.
I still can't find my way around campus that well. I can make it to like Key Stadium because we cover a lot of games there, but whatever's on that side of campus, no idea. But it's been great. It's been, we've been doing a lot of productions and classes seem to be going well. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about wrapping up the semester and seeing what comes next.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that the end of the semester is coming up, but
it is crazy. It is right upon us, and that's kind of scary.
Just a little bit, a little bit. But I know in TV we've done a bunch, which is amazing to hear, and especially that past week we've done so many productions.
Yeah.
So what was kind of your thought process behind that, or how are you feeling that we've had that success?
I don't know if there was a lot of thought behind it so much as like we knew we had things we had to do, and I don't think any of us really realized how much we were going to be doing last week, because we ended up, 4 hours of election coverage, we did a talk show, a news show, a sports show, and we ended up doing a promotional video for the Office of Advancement as well. So it was a very busy week. And I think half the staff was sick by the,
sure.
I just feel like we all kind of started dropping like flies, is that right?
Yeah.
But couldn't be more proud though too, because what we accomplished, we were on the air for 4 hours straight. We had a political panel, we had people at the Republican and Democratic headquarters, and it was phenomenal to see it all come together. Honestly, like it just, the amount that we were able to accomplish last week, and with starting up basketball and then going from basketball, not many people know this, but there's a huge setup process involved in setting up for each game. And so going back and forth from, Nickerson to Key and then back, thank God for our sports director who was showing up at like 6 a.m. to rewire things.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got a lot done, and it was a successful week, so pretty happy about that.
For sure, yeah. How do you think you kept your staff motivated to go through all of that?
I don't know if I successfully did. No,
I think it was successful.
A lot of cheerleading. I feel like, and that's kind of why I try to get there early too, so that like at least I'm, so that they see that I'm there too.
Yeah. Sure.
But also just the experience. For anyone, elections only come every 2 years. So for anyone that wants to go into broadcasting, having that on their reel, having done that experience, you got to do stand-ups in DC,
It's amazing, yes.
So, to have that on your reel, there aren't gonna be a lot of students that have a stand-up in DC on their reel. There aren't gonna be a lot of students when, you're going out looking for jobs that have a political panel on their reel. So I think that just knowing that you're getting those opportunities is kind of the motivator too, because everyone just really comes together for one another, and that's been kind of the cool thing to see. Like, in TV it's very communal, and we do this thing, 1, 2, 3 UIndyTV thing, and like it's my favorite thing. Like I just can't not do that, even if there's like no reason to do it.
Right.
But so I think a lot of that, and I think just people stepping up for one another.
For sure, yeah. It was amazing to see everybody come together during that week. And it was a lot of fun too. A lot of stress, but
it was
a lot of fun. Kind of switching gears, I know in your past you had a kind of different career path. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. I'm originally from Franklin, Indiana, and I went to Franklin College originally, majored in, they only had theater or broadcasting. And I knew that I kind of wanted to do like the entertainment side of things, because I'd been doing that since I was a kid, like just kind of like literally stuffed animals writing scripts for them. So I spent my spring break of my junior year out in Los Angeles visiting some friends that I'd gone to high school with, and that I'd shot like, we were Star Trek nerds, so we like would go out on our weekends and like shoot little Star Trek shorts and stuff like that. So 2 of them had moved to LA right after we graduated, and I hadn't seen them in 3 years. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go out and visit them. And that was all it did for me. I came back from spring break and told everyone, summer before my senior year, I was dropping out of college and moving to LA.
Oh, wow.
They all thought I was insane, and I believe my brothers actually told my parents to forbid me from going. And,
Oh, wow, yeah.
but to their credit, when I went to drive out to LA, my parents were both there, and they were like, you know what, we don't really like agree with your decision, but we're going to support you. And they actually drove out with me, and it was very cool. We've been tight ever since.
That's good.
But yeah, so I got out to LA. I finished college going to a film school out there, and then worked in the entertainment industry for the next 20 years. Everywhere from Paramount is where I got my start, and then Sony. I was doing like copywriting. It was like Sony has a bunch of international channels and like local language channels, and I was like the brand voice of all that. And I remember writing a college professor I'd had out in LA was a TV showrunner, and I remember writing him, and I was like, look, I'm getting paid to write. I'm like making really decent money. But this is not the kind, I'm not a corporate person. Anyone that knows me, certainly at this university, knows I'm not a corporate person. And I said, look, I just want to come learn for you. And he said, you know, come have lunch with me. I'm starting up a new show called Quantico, and that turned out to be Criminal Minds. And he hired me, offered me a job before the salad was served. And I was like, all right. So I'm going over to there, and spent the next 12 years of my life at the Criminal Minds franchise, working my way up to writer, supervising producer, and ended up working on all of the spin-offs, and then made my way. I always knew I was coming back. It was kind of that thing, like even when I left, I told people I would come back.
Yeah.
That one day, and COVID kind of like accelerated my path on that one. I thought it was gonna be more like my 50s, and after COVID, I was like, why am I still here? Like, I don't want, like, LA took it way more serious than I think Indiana did. And like, just like being trapped and like not being able to be with your family and everyone. I was like, no, it's time. I'm getting out of here. And literally as I drove I mean, no joke, as I drove across the state line from California, driving to Indiana to like I was gonna go basically do a bunch of interviews, and is the day that the UIndyTV job got posted, and it literally like notified me 5 minutes after I crossed the California state line. I was like,
wow.
This is what I'm doing, this is what I'm doing, and thank God they offered the job, so
That's
here I am.
so wild. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's awesome to hear. I'm glad you're here then, yeah.
Thank you,
It's a sign that you're meant to be here.
That's what I like to think.
Yeah, for sure. So what kind of process did you go through from that transition from being in LA back to Indiana?
I got a lot more winter jackets.
Oh, for sure.
I will say that. The process has been pretty interesting, just because, you know, it's very different, and I have to remind myself, you know, but luckily, I mean, I came back, and, you know, I would fly back as often. I mean, literally, I was trying to get back to Indiana, like, probably from my third year in LA. Like, I loved what I did in LA, but I have always been a Hoosier. I will never like not be. And so it was like one of those things where despite living in California for 20 years, like it never was like home. So the transition has actually, aside from the weather and like me not really like remembering that I was gonna have to get used to seasons, the transition has actually been relatively seamless. Like it's been, and I think that's due to you and a lot of the students, because it's just been incredible. Like just, I work a lot of hours here, and I keep, and you know, and I keep telling everyone, I'm like, yeah, but if I didn't love what I was doing, like, you know, it would be different. But it's so much fun. Like it really just is.
For sure. And kind of switching careers too, what was that like, switching from being on like entertainment over to being a professor?
I will say that the sports thing kind of hit me a little by surprise. Like, you know, because I mean, I think I became more of a sports fan living in California only because like the Colts became like part of my attachment to Indiana. I think when I was in Indiana, when I was younger, I didn't really like take advantage of that, or like it was just kind of like, yeah, okay, the Colts.
Colts, yeah.
Once I was in California, I mean, it was like I was wearing Colts gear every Sunday. I was like, nope, we're finding the Colts bars, and you know, but obviously coming from the scripted world and then coming out here, I mean, it's live news, it's live sports. That was definitely an adjustment period, and if it weren't for my student managers, oh my God, I would have died. But, you know, with all the D1 and D2 talk, you know, and there was like some discussions of, are we going to, you know, give the broadcast rights to like ESPN if we go D1? And, you know, the back of my head, I'm like, oh, you mean we wouldn't have to do sports? But everyone loves doing sports here. And so I, like, the words coming out of my mouth, and I was still surprised about it. I was like, we have to be able to do sports. Like, we, you know, and I was like waging like arguments about we must do this. And I'm like, who am I? What has happened? Like, so just the passion of seeing the students has really like just made all of that, like, I'm addicted to it now.
I love that. That is so kind to hear. I also, earlier you mentioned that your professor kind of started your career. So how would you say networking is important, or what steps would you recommend for students in that position?
Still to this day, so that class that I took with that professor, he invited us all to his house at the end of the semester. There was kind of a wrap party. His show shot in New York, but all the writers were in LA. So he invited us all to his house. He's like, hey, we're gonna have a rap party. You can meet some writers, come hang out. I was the only one from that class that went. And I made sure like that everyone knew who I was. Like I mingled and did the whole thing, but so that when they all went to work on Monday, like they were like, who was that student? Like Rick was his name, right? And like, so they were talking about me, and that was a good thing because ultimately that like kept me in his mind so that when it came time, he hired me. But to this day, the other students in the class will still give me a hard time about that and say they wish they had gone to that party. So my whole thing about networking is if you get invited to things, you go to them. Like, because you never know like what's gonna happen, and you don't know who you're gonna meet, and you just need to get your name in front of people. And so I always tell people, like, you can't not go to events. Like any opportunity, even if you're awkward, even if you think it's gonna be the most awkward thing in the world, or you don't wanna go at all, you just gotta force yourself, because you never know where down the line that's gonna pay off.
For sure, yeah. I've definitely seen that here at UIndyTV, which is amazing to see. And I'm so thankful for you for opening up some of those opportunities. What kinds of things do you think UIndyTV has to offer in those kinds of networking opportunities?
The alumni have been incredible. I mean, it has been kind of, you know, I was told even during the interview process, like, we have very engaged alumni, and, you know, they kept asking me, like, how are you with alumni relations? And I was like, well, we're going to find out. But networking has never been my problem. So every time someone comes back that has done UIndyTV, I try to find time to sit down with them. And I actually missed someone who ran the station for 2 years. I missed, and then I got online. I was like, hey, next time you're in town, let's sit down. Like, I'm sorry I missed you. We ended up talking for like 4.5 hours about what UIndyTV used to be like, what's changed. So like, I feel like I better know like the history. Like they are alumni are very invested in this program, and that has been phenomenal to see, because we have also built a reputation for excellence. I mean, our graduates, we've got some that sideline reporter for the Houston Rockets.
Yes.
I hope that's the right team, again, sports. But all throughout Indiana, the news stations we've got alumni at. So there are those opportunities to get in for internships. And what we're hoping to do, because we've kind of been modernizing the studio and the technology that we have, is once we're finished all the upgrades, we want to invite all the alumni back to have like an alumni play day, and basically just throw everyone at the new studio and see what kind of content we can create. Because every time we talk to them about like the new stuff that we're getting, they're always like, wait, we didn't have that. You know, there's like that jealousy thing that we really want to like not only have them here to get to play with the new stuff, but then that gives them an opportunity to interact with all the students and have those networking opportunities.
Yeah, for sure. It's super important to connect those students to our past students, and especially going into the real world, they will already have those connections as a student.
I talk all the time about, you know, my first job at Paramount. I got that job because of one of my fellow students had interned there first and then recommended me. So then I placed the next 3 people there. Then I went to Sony because of that internship, and then created an internship program at Sony so that all my fellow students could come intern there. I placed like 4 more. Even at Criminal Minds, I created an internship and ended up hiring like 12 of my classmates on that one.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So it really is like, as an alumni or even as a present student, like you always have to be thinking about how can you build that infrastructure for the people coming up behind you too, because your peers right now are going to be the people that you're either working with or that you're helping get in the door later down the line. And I didn't realize that when I was an undergrad here in Indiana, but in California it became very clear, certainly in grad school. And so just building that meant that I've got friends all throughout the industry now because we all went to school together and we all just kind of helped each other get in the doors that we needed to get in. And I think that building that here, and it's already, the infrastructure is already here for that because we have so many successful alum, and then just engaging with that and taking advantage of that is going to open so many doors for everyone.
For sure, yeah. It's important to make those connections, and I think it's awesome to see at a university that we're able to. But we will be right back after a short break here on Good Morning Greyhounds.
Award-winning news coverage. Brought to you by ethical journalists that care about you. We have you covered on crime, latest on sports, and the best in entertainment. This is UIndyTV News.
Hey, it's Giselle here on 88.7 WICR.
88.7 The Diamond, the only jazz and classical station in Indianapolis, completely led by the students of the University of Indianapolis. Listen to us on iHeartRadio, TuneIn app, FM radio, HD radios, or even on our website at wicronline.org, a different kind of public radio.
Welcome back to Good Morning Greyhounds. I'm your host, Sydney Smith, and I'm with Professor Rick Dunkle. And we've been talking about UIndyTV and kind of the program here. But what do you think the future of UIndyTV will look like?
Honestly, I'm super excited about the future of the program because you can't really see it on the cameras right now, but we cleared out like half the studio, and we're actually, this desk is brand new. We got it from WTHR, donated this to us earlier the year. And so we've really been kind of upgrading what we have here in the studio so that we can do all sorts of different programming in the future. I'm actually looking into, we're gonna, I don't know why I'm looking that way, no one can see it, but we're gonna put in a video wall that's gonna allow us to be able to just kind of roll in different set pieces and control our environment so that we can have all sorts of different shows. One of the things that I was excited about election night was seeing the kind of the political side. We invited some poli-sci students in. We talked to Dr. Wilson from the poli-sci department, and there was a lot of great information and experience that came out of that. So I would love to see, I think, a variety of shows coming up in the future, such as like a political show. Someone was talking to me last night about wanting to do a show focused on soccer with the World Cup coming on. And that's kind of one of the things we've encouraged in applied television is there's no limit to what we can do. It's just about willingness and time, you know? So because one of the first things that I did when I came here is I learned prior to this year, we had only been broadcasting in the dorms. So we hadn't really been able to get off campus, but now we're a streaming service. So really we can do 5-minute news updates or, you know, morning yoga of the, you know,
I love that.
It could be anything. And I think that that's where I see the future of the program going, is not just doing the 30-minute live broadcasts and then whatever the length of each game is, but being able to expand that to just different content, because really content is what everything is about now. I want to monetize so that we can, you know, always be at the current level of what actually the studios are using, because we were kind of a little outdated on the equipment. So I just want to keep us with the times on that. And one of my hopes is we've got a documentary class coming next semester. So, you know, that was kind of my effort to combine what I'd been doing out in Hollywood with then the journalism and kind of news programming that we have here, so that what we're actually going to do for the semester is create a feature-length documentary. that then at the end of the year, we will have a screening for that, and then we're actually going to send it out to festivals because we really want to start building the reputation. We already have a very strong reputation in news and in sports, but I want to build the reputation so that if there's anything TV or anything visual media, that you're coming to UIndyTV and getting those students. And so that's kind of the hope. Like next semester, we're going to have a very large applied TV class, and we're going to kind of have an entertainment division so that we're focusing on like original programming as well as our staples. We'll always have news, we'll always have sports, we'll always have talk, but also, you know, there are universities that have soap operas that are like, that students schedule their classes around so that they can watch those soaps, you know? And the other day I discovered that on the, on the top floor of, what is that building called? See, this is why I'm new. The health pavilion. There's like this cool, like it's the simulator for nursing, and it's like this fake hospital just exists on the top floor. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, we could like script something here. We could, and then it turned into like Greyhounds Anatomy, and like I'm like, yes, we're gonna do a soap opera, but there will be murders and twists, and like that's, you know, a sign of me being here too long. But yeah, I want to see a variety and a diversification of content so that we are just throwing everything at it, because then people have so much more experience, they get more on their reels when they're going out of here, and there's no real limit to what we can do.
I love that. Limitless, kind of programming here sounds amazing to see. And I know we've gone through a lot of changes here recently within our studio. Could you describe those a little bit?
Sure. We have, basically, we're switching over to go 4K. So we have brought in, for those that don't understand how the, you know, kind of TV infrastructure works, we have a switcher that allows us to alternate between cameras and pump in music and audio and all that. So the first thing we did was get a new one of those so that we'd be able to handle 4K. Kind of our old switcher, I don't know, it was 100 years old. I'm not really sure. That's probably that's definitely an exaggeration, but we got one that I had seen when we were touring different studios, and I was like, oh, so you guys use this? Like, there's one version that like we would just never be able to afford, and then this is kind of like the version we can, and we can train people on stuff that's actually being used. And then we're having a wiring day in a few weeks where we're actually going to rewire the whole studio for all of the new 4K cameras that we've acquired. So that's going to allow us to have better control over our audio, better control over what we're bringing in. We're going to be able to green screen again. So those have been the major kind of, it's a slow build because, you know, there's only so much in the budget. I have like a 4-year plan on the slow evolution of what we're going to have. Because eventually, I mean, we're going to have to redo the lighting to LEDs and that kind of thing. Certainly with all the power outages, we're going to have to invest in a backup generator for that too. But I mean, the ultimate thing is to switch to as digital as possible, and cameras are so much smaller now. And quite frankly, a lot of MMJs, multimedia journalists, are actually using their iPhones when they go out and are doing reports. And there's a way where like we can actually like connect with our iPhones, do live shots that way. So there's going to be a combination of like using what's in our pockets, and then also, you know, having smaller portable cameras. You know, my ultimate dream one day is like radio goes and covers all these away games. You know, I'm hoping one day we have like a mobile sports unit that goes out and is able to cover that for us as well. We tried, our first attempt at a mobile sports unit was during a swim meet a couple weeks ago. Hannah Harley announced that with Brandon Barger, and it went really well. So we're gonna do a full-fledged UIndyTV production in January of that. But you know, we're working out the kinks on that, and I think it'll be really cool, you know, and then hopefully one day we get like a UIndyTV news van, you know, that,
so cool,
that can go around, but maybe it'll have to be an RV so we can save on hotel costs when we're doing away games, but
sure.
we'll see, we'll figure that out, it's down the road.
For sure, yeah. And you kind of talked about UIndyTV kind of going more digital.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that includes like streaming more on YouTube and social media rather than a TV channel?
Absolutely. We're in talks of actually developing our own UIndyTV app. So the hope there is that we'll be able to provide just our regular streaming content, but then we'll be able to create a paywall for premium content as well. It would never be like expensive. We're talking like, hey, $1 a month, but that way we're basically building the program so that it is what you see out there in the professional world, and the app will allow us to pump out. The app that we're working on will allow us to pump up a lot more branded content pieces, like little 3-second videos with. Of news events or something like that, where it's branded UIndyTV. We're able to just push it out throughout the day and night as news stories develop and that kind of thing, so that we don't always have to have the full studio production in order to get those stories out. So yeah, we're still on the campus channel. Although I hear we got knocked out because of the power outage, so we'll be back on later today. But yeah, everything's going to streaming. We have to match that. So we will, it'll all be on our website, UIndyTV.org, and then our UIndyTV app when we've got that finished.
Yeah, that will be awesome. And I think it will be more convenient too for our students rather than having to look us up on our channel. It's all about convenience in this day and age.
We're like channel 1096 or something. Like
right.
I don't know who's scrolling past, HBO and Cinemax and whatever to find UIndyTV that somewhere on 1096 when you could set it to get notifications when we're doing drops. So eventually we'll do weather, and so like you don't even have to get out of your bed to find out what the weather is on campus because we'll pump it right to your app. And yeah, I'm just so excited about that because we're going to be able to do anything that we want really moving forward.
Yeah, that will be awesome. I think it would be super fun for our students to take part in that as well. I've seen also too some reporters recently, like even reporting live on TikTok. Do you think that would be something
I have no doubt. I have no doubt UIndyTV is headed to TikTok. We're the comm department just started doing TikToks. It would be poor business to not, because one of the advantages of being streaming is not only can we reach our alumni, we can quite frankly reach the world. So as we beef up our program and then start getting into, SEO, so that, like we've noticed, for those that don't know SEO, we've noticed that there are certain ways that when we put our games up, if we label them a certain way, we're gonna get a lot more viewers. Certainly with the Last Call Sports show, the way that they'll break into segments on what they're predicting for NFL results, or depending on how we post that or list that, then it's showing up in people's search engines a certain way. So we're going to capitalize on that so we can start growing our audience, not just to alumni, but to really anyone that wants to buy into our kind of entertainment. And certainly we need to build that in order for the app to be successful as well.
Sure, yeah. And you mentioned labeling things different on YouTube. I didn't even realize that was a thing. So what kind of things should we be looking for whenever we post our videos on YouTube?
The trick for it is you have to think about what are people searching online. So if they're interested in Jeff Saturday becoming coach of the Colts, and we've done a story on that, then it should really be, always put UIndyTV on there because you want to brand yourself, but then it should be, Jeff Saturday, new head coach of the Colts. It shouldn't be like UIndyTV news, and then we've got like 7 different things listed, because then that gets buried in it. But if you've just got like 7 words for your description and 5 of those are hits of what people are Googling for, it's going to be more opportunity for you to go up that list, and so that they'll see it and they'll be like, oh, look, here's a 5-minute last call segment. Don't know what last call is. That's fine. But this is about Jeff Saturday becoming coach. So I'm going to click on that.
Yeah.
And then, having those little short segments certainly helps, because people are more inclined to click on the segment specifically about what they want to learn about than a whole 30-minute news show where they have to like dive through it and figure out where is what they want. And the same thing for those people applying for jobs, just so you know, is true with your resumes. Resumes are so much searched by keyword now because I tell everyone, I was helping a student with a resume yesterday, and it's like those skills, like everyone thinks they're kind of annoying. Those skills, the words that you're putting under that are what are going to show up on people's searches when they're running your resumes. Yeah. When you submit a resume, you got to figure that there are like 2,000 resumes being submitted. Maybe there aren't, but just assume 2,000. No one's going to read 2,000 resumes. So what do? They search for keywords. So if you're going out for a job, think about what are the keywords that your future employer would be looking for and make sure they are in your resume. It's the same for anything that you post online. You got to make sure, you know, hashtags are outdated, but still, when people want to find something on Twitter, what do? They type in, I want to learn about Donald Trump. So you type in Donald Trump. Well, if you don't have Donald Trump listed in your tweet, it won't pop up, right? So you just got to think about what people are looking for. And part of the app we're going for actually predicts what's trending so that if there is something that is trending on social media that people are trying to engage with, we will actually be able to see that on our database, and we'll be able to then say, well, do we have a story that matches this? Let's put it in there so that we can get exposure to those people that are searching for those certain topics. So it's really about, you know, playing with people's, what's the vibe of the moment, and tracking it down and then putting out content that matches.
Yeah, so it sounds like UIndyTV is moving in an amazing way. I'm so excited to see the future. I'm so thankful that you are here pushing us towards that way. But that is all we have time for today. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Join us again next week here on Good Morning Greyhounds.